Hello and welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 64. I am your host, Ryan Black, and I am joined by my co-host, Jacob Brush, and we are back and we are playing with power. Jacob, how you doing this week?
Hey, I'm doing great. We're recording not our normal time. It's weird to be recording at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, but it is cold and chilly and snowy here and icy because it was raining all week. It warmed up here in Indianapolis, and then it started to just rain towards the end of the week, poured down rain, and then the temperatures, we went from 50 to 20 and below in one night, and it just froze everything. So I was out of work yesterday, which was fantastic. I stayed home and played games. I cannot collect enough moon pieces, it seems like. I'm collecting. And, man, I can't put Mario Odyssey down, put it that way. But I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. I've just been enjoying the warmer weather and not so enjoying the colder weather. So, very opposite of you. But, I've been just been working a lot, trying to save up, get that extra cash for Disney. So coming at the end of the month, so that's gonna be pretty cool.
I mean, if it wasn't cold out, you couldn't be wearing that penguin hat you're wearing right now.
Yeah, my attic, I forgot to turn the heater on, so it's a bit cold up here. So.
Well,
so Jacob, we have some guests on, some very special guests.
Yeah, if you can't hear the giggling in the background, we have two special guests on. Go ahead, introduce them.
We have got, now I hope this is okay if I call you this, Sean. We have the Nintendo guru and the Xbox guru here with us. The Microsoft, if you will.
The Xbox guru on a Nintendo show. This wasn't in the contract before I signed off.
Naturally, we have to do this, and it's okay to do this because Xbox didn't exist at the time of this game that we're going to be talking about today.
That's true.
Came out, so
okay.
It's all good.
I'll look past it. That's true. Well, yeah, welcome, Bobby and Sean. Welcome back.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I've been waiting for this day, and now I feel like I get this insulting intro. Now I'm just gonna go.
No,
I'm just gonna. Insulting? He called you an Xbox guru.
I know
he doesn't even like it either.
He's trying to get all the Nintendo fans after all the Nintendo ninjas are gonna roundhouse kick me in the face because I like other consoles.
And to be fair, Sean loves Nintendo
Ryan.
too. He was currently
of course I do. I'm playing it right now.
So don't worry, don't attack him. It's okay. Sean's a friend.
I think the thing you need to focus on more, other than the fact that I play other systems, is that you guys have made a critical error already. You made it quite a while ago. You're not supposed to ask Bobby and me to be on the show together.
Yeah,
anybody who's ever had us on together knows that this is a horrible mistake.
You guys think that you have a podcast right now called Nintendo Nostalgia. It's done. It is now the Bobby Pauls and Sean Capri show.
If we ran Nintendo Nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this has just become. So you had that chuckle in your voice where it's like, they're playing. No, I'm serious. You screwed up.
The facade is over. You got the intro. Here we go, Bobby. Take it over from here.
So,
all right.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 64 of If We Ran Nintendo Nostalgia. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined by the greatest co-host in all of podcasting, Sean Capri.
There you go.
You guys
Geek outs. Well, yeah, okay. Geek outs. Well, Ryan, I would say it's a good time to just transition to Radical Rex, and then how about that, huh?
This is a great banter here, but I think we should totally talk about the fact that we should do an April Fool's episode where we swap podcasts.
Hey, you know what?
You run the show, we run your show just for a day.
We don't have a show no more, so you can run our show.
You can run if we ran Nintendo. Okay, sounds good.
If we ran Nintendo.
All right, let's get into what we've been Radical Rexing about. So So, Sean, let's start with you. What have you been Radical Rexing about? What's really been getting you excited?
I'm so glad you started with me because I think Bobby might have taken this as well. I'm Radical Rexing about the Splatfest, you guys.
Yeah.
I am back. I've actually feel like I've skipped the last couple of Splatfests, maybe. It's just that they have hit at the wrong time. Like the fall was crazy with everything else that was going on, but now it's kind of like I've gotten a taste of everything else that happened at the end of last year. And this is, I think that maybe it's just because I'm playing, but I get the feeling like this might be one of the more popular ones. I like the selections, like the comedy or action, and I'm just back in, man. It's just perfect timing. I love it.
Awesome. Bobby?
Listen, let's be honest, Sean. You're only digging it because of the great matches we were just having. Like, we got a whole bunch of people in Discord. We're all hanging out for the last 2 hours.
What's wrong with that? Even if that
was the reason.
Okay, you're right. Like, thank you for adding on to that.
Because I'm just adding on.
It brings people together. Splatfest is very special.
I'm clarifying. That's all.
Thank you. Sounded like an attack, but you're right.
It's not an attack. I'm just adding on and saying, clarifying why it was so good.
I'm just glad we can still be friends, even when you broke up with me live on the internet.
Had to be done. I don't know what to tell you. For me, wow. How do you follow that up? You know what, man? Honestly, something that I'm really excited about is one of my new shows that I just started. Behind the scenes with Jules Watcham. It's pretty cool to get this opportunity to sit down on a weekly basis with Jules Watcham and talk to him about games that he's worked on in the past, kind of like a director's cut of the games he's worked on. It's been a lot of fun. And just the fact that, like, humbling experience as well. Like, he came to me and asked me to be a part of it, and I was really, floored to do that, and I had to take that opportunity to do it. So it's really a lot of fun. So that's what I'm really amped up about right now at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be good to be checking out and stuff. I heard you announce that last week as well, and that's exciting stuff, man.
We did it. We did episode 0 last week, which is up this week, and then tomorrow night we actually recorded the first episode, which will be kind of cool.
Awesome, man! Congratulations on kicking off this new show.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Jacob.
Well, thanks for asking. I have to say something I've been Radical Rexing. First off, I want to say to Bobby and Sean personally, actually, what I was Radical Rexing about last week when I was listening to the last episode of Nintendo Nostalgia. Thanks for free advertising for 30 minutes of your show there. I was like, dang, this is good. I didn't have to pay a dime for this, so that was nice. I started. It's mixed feelings. I started the game. Ryan and I do this thing where I gave Ryan a game he has to get to play, and he has to play and beat it. He can't just get it and it's just there. You have to beat it, make it a priority, and he does the same for me to kind of mix up the kind of games we would get to branch out a little bit. So finally, Ryan got me at the. UN Squadron. It was the last. It literally was the last hour before. He was at my New Year's Eve party this year. Last hour before, and he finally decided what I should be getting for 2017. So I bought it just yesterday, and he wanted me to get Sonic Mania because he bought it and he loved it and he has nostalgia for Sonic.
Oh, God. Why do you...
I thought this was a Nintendo show.
Yeah, why did he put you on such a bad game?
Well, I'm going to get to that. I got Sonic, and it takes me back to, I only had a little bit of memory with Sonic, but, I'm going to beat it to finish. I'm not going to 100% everything on it, but I'm going to beat it to finish like I promised. And I think that the game did a fantastic job of recapturing for what Sonic fans did. If this was a Mario game, this was a Mario World 3, and they try to recapture what the original Mario World felt like, it would be spot on, and I would love it. So they did a fantastic.
So you're saying what you're saying is it's just as bad now as it was back on the Genesis.
It looks and feels like that. And but now here's my issue with it. Man, Ryan, I wanted to rage quit. I wanted to quit. The controls suck. I think the controls are really bad. You're supposed to just run, and I'm used to platformers to where I can take my time, I can think about my move, and if I start to master that course, then I can run through a level pretty quick. But with Sonic, it's literally you're supposed to just go, and I'll collect 100 rings, and I get hit one time, and I lose them all, and it's so frustrating to me. And I'm not saying I hate this game, but I am saying I think the controls are really, really rough, and they're hard to get a grip on.
Jacob, just say it. Just say it. Just say it.
We'll say it for you.
Just say it.
Sounds like you hate this game, man.
Hot trash in the summer.
Trash in the summer.
Just say
I
it.
think the controls
How
are
much trash do you pile up outside, Bobby?
A lot.
He had.
You gotta get rid of some of that trash.
Hot trash in the summer. I wouldn't go that far yet. I mean, I think there's some things cool. I did just beat a boss that was pretty cool. It was like a helicopter fight, and you were like running, and that was pretty neat. And I'm starting to get the controls a little bit more, but I don't understand how Sonic ever got popular, honestly, with those kind of controls compared to what Mario was.
British.
So
the British did it for you. That's you can thank them.
I don't want to crap all over your game that you picked for me because you didn't do that for me, Like I'm saying, there's good stuff about it. I think they did a good job at recapturing for what people who like Sonic do, and that intro anime scene, dude, that was cool, and I loved that song. And actually, I had bought that song in the summer when the trailer first came out for that game. So it's my feelings are mixed on it so far. I'm finally starting to understand the controls a little bit better. I just beat World 3, and World 3 was kind of reminded me like Capital Casino. It was just like a big casino place. It felt like it had movie theaters and was it pinball they try to recapture in it?
Yeah. Pinball.
Sonic Spinball is the best Sonic game ever made.
Yeah, that is a classic. But I thought that level was unique, and I just got to the flying level. So, like I said, I'm starting to understand the controls, but man, at first it was really tough to just grind that out and okay, you just gotta. I'm kind of getting a rhythm with it. So, that's why I think about it so far. I'm gonna beat it though, and.
Jacob, I like how your commentary on this game was the equivalent of the with all due respect, and then you say something really awful. Who says with all due respect and then says a nice thing? That's basically what I just heard just now.
Well,
that was
thank
awesome.
you. I mean, I don't want Ryan to feel bad. He didn't crap all over the game I gave him. He actually found a lot of good things.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to.
But you guys are friends. You can be honest with each other.
Exactly.
I just want to be open-minded.
Bobby tells me all the time. He tells me that
UN
UN Squadron is hot trash in the summer, even though he's never played it. One of the
Now,
best games ever made.
You recommended a lot of games, Sean, last week that we hadn't covered, and that would have been fantastic. Then Bobby said we're trash, and
they were all bad games.
I know. Well, that's why you need to have me on instead of Bobby.
We like having you both on.
I can't wait.
And Mario Odyssey, loving Mario Odyssey. Like I said, I'm just I'm trying to 100% the game now and just collecting away, So there's some. I basically play to a point where I literally cannot figure out how to get these moons anymore. Like that, the Cappy level. There is one moon I cannot figure it out for the life of me, and it's the artwork. They're it's supposed to hint at something, and I don't know what to do. So that's what I'm radical rexing about. And besides that, I'm also radical rexing about the mini direct. We just released an episode for it. Mm-hmm. I've been able to just think about it the past few days, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But Ryan, what about you? What are you radical rexing about?
I gotta say this, Jacob. I am radical rexing, and I'm finally done with Ukulele. That was a pain. That was a huge pain.
Now he's gonna try to rip open some can of crap that I just talked about.
You're gonna wish you were a little more honest.
If I
just
talked about Sonic nicely, he would not say anything bad because. As far as I know, in the text message when we texted, he's liked it. It
was bad when they put it out. I don't know. It's not that it's bad now. It's always been bad. It's just,
I couldn't miss an opportunity. Hey, we're going to have an episode on ukulele, and I'll share my thoughts. Don't worry, Jacob. It's not all bad. In fact, a lot of it's pretty good.
There you go.
But
that's better.
I was being urged to play through it really fast and get it done before the weekend so that you would interrupt your Odyssey playing and play Sonic Mania and finish it. Mm-hmm. So I did that. You started actually playing Sonic Mania a little bit earlier. Thank you. Thank you for that. But you knew I was on track. I found out I had to get 100 pages, and I had 64, and I had to just power through and get the rest of those, and it took forever for me, and I ran into some glitches and some annoying things, but I was able to get there and beat the final boss. And so yeah, I'm Radical Rexing that it's finally over. And also, so for Christmas, my mom got me Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. And I had a second Switch game I had to open. So I opened it up, and it was Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Somehow in the mix-up, my mom had gotten me 2 copies of it. So
nice.
A couple days ago, she took me over to GameStop and said, "Hey, we'll exchange this game. You can also pick out another game for your birthday." So I had a 20% off coupon for pre-owned game because I had my birthday, and everything. So
Nice.
I was able to get both Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Mario Odyssey. So I'm now playing Mario Odyssey, and I'm loving it. It was weird doing the transition.
It was hard going from a crappy
ukulele
game to a
Odyssey,
great
right?
game. I get it. It's understandable.
Immediately, but I'm getting used to it now.
It's not a crappy game.
It was the double jump. Mario doesn't do a double jump,
me.
and so that's what threw me off. I kept trying to do a double jump, and it wasn't doing it. So I'm getting into the flow now of Mario, and I'm enjoying it. So that's what I've been Radical Rexing about.
Well, cool. Man, I can't wait to have our Yuka episode so I can share my thoughts. But I played Yuka and Mario together, basically, and I had no issue going back and forth, and we'll talk about it another time. But so why don't we go ahead and talk about the Direct Mini? Even though we just released an episode, we got Bobby and Sean on. It's always great to get other perspectives. And just a question, it made me want to talk about today. I was listening to some other podcasts today and YouTubers last night. Just the one thing I keep hearing is people, what they're most disappointed with is that they said we didn't get any big games to look forward to. And I walked away from the Direct. I thought it was pretty solid. I liked it. I liked what we got. I like what they're giving us. I think it gets us up to E3. I think it's fantastic. I'm happy with what they released or announced. But what people keep saying, even on Nintendo Voice Chat, they're like, oh, their big game for the year is Mario Tennis, and that's it. Well, then Pear, corrected them and said, guys, it's only January. I think people tend to forget that it is literally the first month of the year, and people are acting like that Nintendo doesn't have anything. I mean, if you're not a Nintendo fan, how can you not know? You just need to expect that Nintendo can do anything, anytime. If they haven't made that clear enough, they freaking drop the Direct at the drop of a hat without warning. But last year, we didn't expect Mario Odyssey. It got announced. And then we get Splatoon 2. We got ARMS. And then we got Pokken Tournament. They were announcing things as the year went on. So, guys, go ahead and take it away.
I think where the issues are falling in, Jacob, is essentially people expected to get more news than we got, and this isn't enough games to get us through to E3. This is a small amount of what we're looking at on the big scale, big scheme of things. But again, we're getting ports, which I think that's where people are a little bit upset. But for me, ultimately, I felt like the Mario Tennis looks really fun. Payday 2 has me really excited. I'm interested to try Dark Souls. I've never played a Souls game before, so I'm interested to be super frustrated and wanting to kill somebody. So I don't know, Sean, what did you think?
The thing that nobody's talking about is that they actually created a new style of delivering the message in this mini. I think that's the most exciting thing about this is that now we have Directs and we have Direct Minis and we have E3 showcases. Nintendo has so much to talk about that they can't even call it all the same thing. So they did. I thought they did a smart job of setting the expectation. Although, basically, as soon as the thing launched, we didn't know what it was going to be called until it actually silent dropped. Which, by the way, I called. I tweeted a couple days before, maybe the day before. If I ran Nintendo, I would just launch it while everybody is sitting waiting for an announcement. That's exactly what they did. And it was amazing.
But
that's the power Nintendo has now.
In those random tweets they were doing, they were telling you, we're just going to drop this thing. I mean, that's the
of
two.
Course.
And I talked about it in a video I did this week. The two things that they pushed out was the Chibi Robo and the Tomodachi Life. Those were the two other minis that they did or directs that they did that they just dropped them and they never gave an announcement for what it was. So Yeah.
Oh,
So they were
that's
basically telling us,
interesting.
like, we're going to put it out and not tell you when
but-
it's coming out. And that's what people weren't picking up on right away.
I don't know. I don't really get upset over not getting enough information anyways. Like, listen, you said I was an Xbox person. Look at the desert that's happening over there. There's no news. This is all good. I'm excited about a good portion of this, and I've said it 1,000 times before. If my wallet can't afford the set of announcements, then it was a good one. And my wallet can't afford this one, man. Like, I want to get, and this might surprise you, Jacob, I do want to get Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze on this. I want to get Hyrule Warriors. I kept putting it off. Those are probably the big two. I actually want to jump into the Smart Mario Odyssey stuff, and I'm not sure about Dark Souls, but this is mini. This is actually them saying this is just the tip of the iceberg. We got more to come. So everybody can just
I think
chill out a little
I think
bit.
ultimately
I liked
where
it, man.
we
I'm
looked
a
at
fan.
what happened was same thing that typically happens. People hype this thing up and expect it to be something that it wasn't, and then when we got this little mini, it just wasn't. It wasn't enough to quench the appetite and the hype that got created prior to this. But Nintendo never said anything of what they were doing. This just slipped under the radar, and we got what we got. We'll see how it goes forward. I was also really excited about Faye. Like, I can't wait for that game. Seriously, like I think what Zoink is doing is very special, and I think it's going to be probably the one shocker out of everything that surprises people and a lot of people talk about moving forward through 2018. So I'm really hyped about that.
Yeah, I like that too. That drops in
Yeah, a
February,
couple
right?
weeks.
That's really exciting because I have
any thoughts
a business trip to do, so I'm gonna buy it then.
Any thoughts on the next direct that they announced? They announced it really quietly, but the 18th is they're doing a Fire Emblem direct. They're going to be talking about just the new Switch game and maybe some other Fire Emblem stuff. Who knows? Have you guys heard anything more on that?
No, man, I can't wait though.
Yeah,
I
me
am
too.
in love with Fire Emblem, and that's my turn-based tactical strategy game series. I don't have a lot of room in my life for more than really one of those. Just like I don't think anybody should play any more than one cart game or even real-time strategy games. That StarCraft's the only one you need. So for me, this is it. It's more like I have XCOM, but I don't play it. I have Mario Rabbids, and I don't play it. So for me, it's Fire Emblem, man. I can't wait for more of that. And Switch is perfect. I can't wait to see what they do.
Nothing.
Have they shown gameplay
Nothing.
at all, or have we just seen what is the battlefield going to look like? Like what? Because we've always got those tiny little sprites. Oh God, and it's just gonna be so incredible just to have. This is maybe one of the last. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this one of the last Nintendo franchises that's made its way over to either high definition or even semi-high definition? Like, we haven't really seen what this has in store for us.
I think there's a handful of
Fair.
them left.
Okay, yeah, maybe you can go far enough back. But
Well,
even
Kid
like Kid
Icarus was a
Icarus has had
3DS, and that was
something.
a ramp
But
up, and a lot of them hit Smash, so you saw what those characters looked like.
Exactly. Yes,
and we saw some Fire Emblem characters in Smash, but I get what you're saying. Like this is one of the big franchises that Nintendo really loves and pushes forward, and it's actually moving from the 3DS where it's been trapped not all of its life, but a good portion of its life, and now it's moving. Yeah.
It's known life, really. Like that's nobody
in
knows
North
it from
America.
before.
Yeah, in Japan, yes, Japan it's a huge franchise, and it's been, but it wasn't until Awakening that it actually started to pick up steam here in the United States and in Canada and stuff. So we'll see how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, the first
can't wait,
sniff
man.
of it we ever really got was Melee when Roy and Marth were put into Smash Bros. Melee. That's how we got introduced. Like, who are these
Roy's
characters?
my boy.
Yeah, it was funny. It was like, as a kid, I remember that. Like, I thought it was so cool that we got these characters that were only from Japan. Like, what? It blew my mind back then. But today, I don't really care one bit about Fire Emblem. I feel that I'm like Justin Masson. We agree a lot when I hear him. I don't like Fire Emblem and I don't like Animal Crossing. So, but I'm glad they exist. Before we all hate here, I'm glad they exist because there's a crowd for it and it's going to help Nintendo out. As long as everyone's getting a little bit of everything, that's fine. So, some people think, and maybe it's everyone's wishful thinking. They keep saying, the last time we had a mini direct, look at the history. We had a mini direct, and then Nintendo followed it up with a big direct a few weeks later or a day later or a couple days later. Do you think that's the case here with this Fire Emblem? That's the only thing I question.
The only thing that I have been hearing is that Nintendo was pretty pissed off about this whole the leak and how much stuff was coming out and how they totally lost control of this one. And they've really had control of the past couple of directs that came out. And this one they kind of just lost absolute control on. From what I've heard, and I don't have any direct source to Nintendo, but the people I've talked to do have some sources through Nintendo. But what I'm hearing is Nintendo was upset. They recut and changed the format to go mini style for this. And they also didn't tell anybody and trolled us in order of a way like to kind of mess with people a little bit and to kind of make it fun. But
it worked in their favor big time.
Oh yeah,
everybody was talking about
it helped big time. But the word is that this will follow up. And we'll see some more stuff because there was a lot of games. I mean, here's the thing: in the EA leak that started all this, my understanding was we were supposed to get a way out. Was supposed to also be announced, and that wasn't announced. Only Faye got announced. So it makes me think that Nintendo cut some stuff and left it. I mean, we didn't even hear about Fire Emblem. We didn't hear about Bayonetta. There was a lot. I mean, Bayonetta comes out in a couple weeks. Like they didn't even talk about that. So. Yeah. It just made me feel like something's missing here. Something is not here that's supposed to be here. So I think that I wouldn't be surprised. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if they just were like next week they were like, hey, the last week of January we're getting something. And I'd be like, but not even that. Like they didn't even talk about Nindies at all. And that's what that's something they've been doing.
Yeah, I'm expecting an indie direct or something.
Yeah,
coming up here soon.
Yoshi was questionable too.
Yeah.
Because they had gameplay of that at E3. They didn't show off Kirby at E3, but yet they give that an announcement, a release date, So, what were you saying, Ryan? Sorry?
Now, I read an article or saw one in passing. I read it about Nintendo had some YouTube issues with this Direct, and that was why it was delayed a couple of days. They got demonetized or whatever, and that caused some controversy.
How the hell did they? I didn't hear that.
Have you guys heard that, or know if that's
I didn't hear that. The only thing that kind of lit something for me to go like this isn't what they normally do. This was video on demand. They don't normally do that. These directs normally go live. So essentially this thing was up and then it's like when I put a video up. It just sits there and it's scheduled and then boom, it just goes. Where typically all their directs are live. And this wasn't a live feed. Like we weren't watching because when I went to go watch it, I didn't start it at the same time as everybody, and I was able to pause it and keep up, and it made me for a second there think like, wow, something's not right here. This is just totally different. So I don't know. I don't know about the demonetization. They're the ones that normally demonetize stuff, so I don't know how that works for against them.
I heard that as well too, Ryan. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, either way, I mean, it would be really cool if there is another direct to follow it up. It's just people just need to always manage their expectations and stop blowing crap. I get tired of the leaks. That's why Ryan and I at E3 time, we literally a week out of E3 we go on hiatus from social media. We don't watch anything. We're not on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, nothing, because I don't want to be spoiled. Because a big complaint I did hear about this mini direct from people who do like YouTube videos. Like I watched Arlo late last night. I was up late, and he was talking about it. And the thing that made him mad was that because it was like just dropped, there was no announcement, and he didn't have time to prepare. But he said by the time it took him to go find how to get there, he saw everything. Yeah. Everything was splattered all over Twitter, all over Nintendo Life's website. Didn't matter. Everyone. The big reveal is supposed to be, what was the last game? Dark Souls, but that's up. That's like plastered all over everything. And Donkey Kong, it's like, well, I've already seen the whole direct just by your advertisement, so now I don't even need to watch it this way. So, I think that's a real issue too, that unfortunately you just don't know what to believe anymore. When people kept saying, oh, the direct is happening and we didn't hear anything from Nintendo, I didn't know what to believe. So I was just like, if it happens, it happens. But
I do want to take a second to encourage you to pick up World Ends With You and play it if you haven't already. That is an amazing game. A lot of people miss it on the DS, but I think it's the best DS game ever made. But that's just me. Like, I loved it so much. But then again, I'm a big like Japanese fanatic, so like being able to run around in Shibuya and just experiencing the culture and the different fashion styles and things like that, like compounded by the story and in combat system, like it was really unique. So you guys definitely got to check it out.
Interesting. Yeah, that's his 2018 game that I must buy here. So I'm making him get Donkey Kong because he never got Tropical Freeze for the Wii U. Can you believe that? Can you believe this guy? Can't believe I asked him to be on the show with me.
Who? Are you talking about me?
No, Ryan. Ryan never got Tropical Freeze on the Wii U.
Like, I've got it right here, man. Like, leave me alone.
No, I know you got it. Ryan doesn't have it.
Oh, guys. Okay, I'm taking over. I'm taking over. Ryan, you're cut. I need a Nintendo show to host. I've been recently publicly shamed.
I heard Sean became available on the market, Ryan.
Yeah, so man, I'm single and ready to mingle. Let's go. I'm looking for a rebound.
Yeah, Ryan. Sorry, I'm giving you over to Bobby. We're taking Sean in.
It's
been an official trade.
Jacob, why are you siding with the Mario Kart 64 guy?
What? Well, I wasn't even on the show.
No. Sean would like Diddy Kong Racing, and his wife was in our corner on that episode.
My wife represented pretty well, if I do say so myself.
That's right. That is very true. He was on our side.
I'm so proud of her. She should be doing this instead of me.
We're gonna have her back on more, Sean. Yeah,
she's the best. She got a microphone. She got a GoPro webcam. I mean, it's not a webcam, but she can use it as a webcam. She'll have a better webcam than any of us.
She gave me a list of games, and You Were in Squadron was not on it. So.
I know she hasn't played it either. It is a real game. I promise you guys, it's real. It exists.
I think I YouTubed it once you mentioned it before. So
it's so
cool.
Good.
Well, that's all. I think that's good enough for the direct there.
I think that makes me a better Nintendo fan than all you guys. Just the fact
you play
that
garbage.
Know what this game is.
That don't make you a better fan.
Listen, Bob, I'm not even hearing the words that you're saying. So, sticks and stones, Bobby. Sticks and stones.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about you.
So you guys, you get to help us kick off a new segment for our season 2, a new, I guess, kind of video series or audio series or what have you. We're doing HD remakes, games that we've covered before, and you guys really wanted to do Super Mario World, and so we're gonna do an HD revisit of this game and talk about it and bring on you guys and get your guys' opinion on and your memories even of your nostalgia for this game. And of course we'll have some things to chime in and supplement, but you guys are the stars of this, so I want to get into Super Mario World.
Okay, well, I'll kick things off by just saying that when you say you guys wanted to do this, I'll say I was willing to do a boatload of games you guys had never done before, and Bobby didn't care. He wanted to do this game, so I'm happy to be here. But I just wanted to let you guys know.
Let's get into reality.
Oh, the foot. How's your foot taste?
No, because that's not the case. The case is you were picking bad games that I never played before.
Okay, yeah, so that doesn't make any sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It's games that are no good
games?
that I was like, I purposely am not buying this game, and you wanted me to go buy them on the virtual console to go play them, and I'm like, no.
I might give you Play Fighter. Yeah, that might be the only one.
You know, I can't wait for the day that Bobby's finally going to play one of your games, Sean, and just be like, I'm sorry, like, this game is awesome.
UN Squadron
like
is the real deal.
Squadron or something.
Hey, we all got those little niche games like Radical Rex, but...
Damn right.
So, I will go ahead and say when this game came out. This game came out, initially it was released in Japan on November 21st of 1990. So I was almost a month old when that game was originally released. 1 month old.
Oh my god!
It did not come into America though till August 13th, 1991. Could you guys imagine getting a big game like Mario, and it doesn't come to America for almost an entire year later? How upsetting would that be for people today? That would tick us off. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine it. But yeah, I came here August 13th, 1991. Since we have talked about it, I know I'll just quickly abbreviate my original nostalgic memories with this. Was obviously I had seen this game like at a babysitter's, like their kids were playing it, and I had only seen it in passing until I met my best friend Traven, and I met Traven in preschool, and this was around like 94, 95, and I go spend the night at Traven's, and he has a Super Nintendo. We didn't have a Super Nintendo in my home. We just had the original one and the Game Boy for many years till we got the 64. And then, Traven introduced me to the whole world of Super Nintendo. And, man, I remember playing the crap out of Super Mario World. It was probably the very first game I ever played on a Super Nintendo, and I remember to this day going over to their house after preschool, and we just ran straight to the TV, turned it on, played it. Remember just getting up first thing in the morning after we asked his parents 1,000 times if we could get up now. If we could get up now, we go straight down there, turn it on. There you go. The Yoshi coin pops up. And then it's Mario running across, jumping on a Koopa, getting the shell. We had a blast with this game, and as I'm talking about it, I can visualize in my mind us doing all of this exactly like we just did it last week, and that's why Super Mario World, even though we're not going to debate about Donkey Kong Country and Mario World today, it's not about that. Even though I really enjoy that the country games more, Mario World probably is my most nostalgic game on the Super Nintendo for me personally. And that is because it was the first game that introduced me to it. And I had only known Mario 3. Mario 1 and 3 we had in Mario Land 1 and 2. So jumping up from mostly Mario 3, I would say, was my favorite Mario game as a little kid. And seeing the next evolution in it blew me away as a kid. So, I mean, guys, go ahead and take the floor. Who would like to go, Sean or Bobby first?
Bobby always goes first.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Sean. But you're like,
we're going back and forth on being nice versus being real mean to each other. This is not even just for show, guys. This is Bobby, and this is you see what you get. This game is the sleepover game for me. This is the one where I was starting to get old enough to actually, where my parents would trust us to be over at neighbor Matt's house or Sheldon. Sheldon, what's up, Sheldon? Oh man, I haven't talked to Sheldon in 25 years. And this is where you just you would replay the first couple worlds over and over and over again. I don't know about you guys, but the style that I always played games, that even though you could save in this one, we always just started from the very beginning and just saw how far we could get. So for me, the early Mario games, I have a lot of good memories and a lot of memorization in the first couple worlds, and it gets far, far blurrier as I go through the game. And this one, it just reminds me of microwave popcorn and green Kool-Aid and staying up way too late. And yeah, the obsession, even on a sleepover, you'd wake up the next morning and have some Fruit Loops. And because we didn't have Fruit Loops, and of course I'm not talking about sleepovers at my house. I'm talking about mooching on my friends' Fruit Loops and Super Nintendo. Going over to friends' places, having an amazing breakfast, and just can't wait to go back and then worry about when is your mom going to show up. That doorbell's everybody remembers that feeling where you're plopped in front of the TV and the glow is cooking your face, and you're like, oh man, she's going to be here soon. And you're trying to get a sense of when she's coming, but there's no phones, there's no cell, there's no update. It could happen anytime. It could be holy crap, we just got another hour out of this thing. And to me, it's this is the best Mario game. Absolutely the best 2D Mario game. I don't know. It gets a little harder to compare when you get into 3D stuff too, as well. I think this is the best drawing, the illustration of Mario is the best. The difference between big and small Mario, the shine on his face, and just how long and silly his nose is. He's got a little belly. It's the cutest Mario. The soundtrack is incredible. I know I'm getting more into the quality of the game here, but for the nostalgia for me is linked to sleepovers. I guess is what I would say. Like, we would play a little bit of Street Fighter, we play a little bit of Killer Instinct, but ultimately we would come back to this game, and the way that you kind of blur in and out of the levels, kind of like it puts me in first person mode. Like, I'm actually like entering into the TV. Like, the lines are blurred between my world and Super Mario World. So this game is very special. I'm so glad we're talking about it today. But that's how I would wrap it up. It's a sleepover game.
I love that you talked about like the terrible, sick to your stomach feeling of when you hear the knock on the door, the doorbell ringing.
No,
because I remember that all the time at Traven's and my other friend Brad. Like, oh, it was the worst. You're like, it's like you love your mom, but like, gosh dang it, it's like no,
it's just the last person you want to see.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I asked my mom multiple occasions when she showed up, like, hey, can I like spend the night again? It's a Saturday, and man, I'm glad you brought that up. That's nostalgia right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus. Good Lord. For me, so I've talked.
So when Bobby was in his second year of college,
I've talked about this numerous times, like in the past, like it was very difficult for me to get an NES. My parents didn't believe in getting us to NES because of no backwards compatibility, and not why would you? It was the only backwards thing that we had was an Atari, but it wasn't backwards to Nintendo. So my parents were like, "Well, you can't play Atari games on the NES, so no, we're not going to get it to you." So it took me like 2 years of begging my mom to finally get one. So when the Super Nintendo came out and they said it's not backwards compatible, man, my stomach just sunk because I was like, how am I going to convince her to get me to get a Super Nintendo? So I remember one day I'm having a conversation with her in the kitchen, and I'm like, Mom, please get me this thing. And she's like, you know the rule. We can't, you got to play your old games. And I'm like, Mom, I can play my old games. I'm like, I can hook them both up to the TV, and I'll play them. I promise you. I'll still play them. She's like, I don't know. I'll have to convince your father or whatever. As weird as it is, my parents actually split up that summer before. They actually got a divorce that year that the Super Nintendo came out. So there was no talking to my father at that point. And I guess ultimately I wound up getting it just because my mom felt like it was a way to help me. I don't know. But I remember taking her in my brother's room and was like, because she kept saying like, no. And I'm like, Mom, come with me. And I took her into my brother's room. I'm like, look at his room. And there's just stuff like, it's like a bomb went off in the room. And I'm like, now come here. And I take her in my room. I'm like, look how I take care of my stuff. Like, I'm telling you, I will take care of this. It'll be amazing. And she's like, I don't know. We'll see. So, she's not going to tell me, yes, I'm getting it for you for Christmas, whatever. So I wound up getting it for Christmas. And I freaked out, man. I flipped my lid. My uncle then... that right after Christmas, like the day after Christmas, my uncle and my cousin, my brother, drove down to Myrtle Beach, Virginia to play golf, or South Carolina to play golf. And so I'm home alone and it's Christmas vacation, so it's the whole week's off from school or whatever. And I remember my mom saying to me like, hey, call your cousin Johnny, who lived down the street. He's like, see if he wants to come over and play this new system that you got. And Johnny didn't get, like... that were my cousins that all got the NES before me. So when I called him, I was like, hey, I got the Super Nintendo. Johnny was like, yeah, I'm coming. Don't worry about it. So he came down. We spent the whole week, like literally, like you guys were saying, like every day it'd be like, hey, call your mom, see if you can spend the night again. And we got snow, so we weren't going out. And we literally we sat in my bedroom the entire week just playing Super Nintendo. And I literally like fell in love with Super Mario World. Like to me, I wasn't a biggest fan of Super Mario Bros. 3. My favorite Mario game on the NES was Super Mario Bros. 2. Just because I felt like it was such a huge leap from the original Mario. And there's so many things that they added to it, so many elements that got added to it. I know revisionist history act like it was the worst game ever, but it's not. Like, it is a really solid game. So for me, like, when 3 came out, like, I liked 3, but I wasn't huge over the fence, over the moon for 3. World, man, that game was just so amazing. Like, there was just so many good things about that game. The graphics, like Sean said, like, literally, like, you go from small Mario to large Mario, and it's two different characters, almost. Two different character builds, and the looks, and, like, it actually started to look in your mind the way the image looked on the boxes and in the books. Like, when you opened up them instruction booklets, spoilers, we used to get instruction booklets with our games. When you opened them up, it was like that Mario that was being drawn by Nintendo was actually in the game. Like, you're looking at it, it's like, man, I could recognize. Like, if you looked at Mario from in an original Mario NES manual, and then looked at him on the screen, it's like, that's not the same person. Like, that's a box. It's a little, like, and then when you looked at it, like, in the Super Nintendo, it's like, oh, wow, he's got eyeballs, and he actually wears a hat, and it's like, I can recognize all these, and I can actually see, like, the buttons.
And the hat, like, flops up when you jump. Like, the whole, it's all
so much detail. And I remember the one thing that I there's two things in that game that really strike a chord with me. The first is, when you start off and you can go right or left. We would never go left. We went right forever. And then one day I was sitting there, I was like, what's to the left? And I started to go left on the map. And I was like, oh, there's these blocks, and it makes the game easier because it puts the yellow blocks out through the world. And, like, it's a little bit of a buffer. Like, there's certain sections where you could fall, and now you fall onto the blocks that are protecting you and stuff. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing is when you make the loop around, and I think it's like World 5, and you come out of the woods, when you finally figure out how to get the heck out of the woods, and you start moving again, and that island of Bowser in the water is just like, what is that? Like, what is going on right now? I think ultimately this game sets the tone for future Mario games in terms of, like, the Star World and all that craziness that goes on, like all these hidden little gems within. Like, that's where all that stuff starts, and it starts to really take shape. Like, you look at games today, and it's like, yes, you beat Mario, but did you really beat Mario? Like, that was the first time that this happened. It never happened before. It was always like, did you beat Mario? Yeah, okay. When
you could warp whistle, you could cheat.
No. But there is. It's not about. I'm talking about the Star World. I'm talking about the additional stuff, the extra content. Like, you never have to touch the Star World. You could go through and not even know there's a Star World. It's just like Super Mario 3D Land or 3D World. Like, that whole upper level, like, you don't know about it unless you get to it, and it's like you didn't truly beat the game until you beat that. And it's that's a tough one.
I haven't did that last level, man. Come on.
But to me, that's where my nostalgia comes up. Is like that whole week of spending with my cousin, just loving that game. And the only game that I think I had Pilot Wings, and I had that. Or no, I had SimCity, and that. Those were my two games that I got for Christmas. But I just played the hell out of that game. Like, I loved it. That game was the music.
Oh yeah, SimCity's way better than UN Squadron, Bobby.
We're not talking about SimCity. I'm just telling you what I got for Christmas.
I don't know why.
I'm telling you what I got for the first Christmas.
We can leave out all conversations.
I love that story. You guys are making me miss being a kid. Gosh, I mean, we try to be kids here as much as we can, and gosh, I wish you guys and all of our podcasting friends and communities were like lived close, because we have our little Nintendo Nostalgia crew where we have guys locally who help out with the show, or they come on if we need a guest filler, and they help do things behind the scenes that not everyone sees. And I'd say once every like 3 or 4 months, we plan out a date in advance. We're like, okay, everyone, make sure you have no plans. We're all coming over to my place, and we make tons of food, and we just smash food, and we game all night. We clear a whole
Tell me when the next one is. I'm driving out.
I'll let you know. I mean, it's just a blast. It takes us back to where we can just be kids, and because we're still kids. We're just grown up. We're grown up children. I heard that's what Donnie from PSVG said. We're grown-up children, and I love that. So I love your stories. They're fantastic. They make me miss the good old days, but we can try to make more memories, I suppose, with today's stuff.
I suppose.
The best we can. I mean, one thing I think I have an issue with when I do try to, like, hang out with a friend, like, for example, is I feel like I don't know how we gamed back in the day. Like, I remember going to Traven's, and I was okay with I was player 2 and he was player 1, and we took turns. And today it's just like, I don't know, I don't ever want to take turns.
Yeah, but
I don't know. It's like everyone wants to be in the driver's seat.
Isn't that what's awesome about the Switch? Like, if you think about it now, like, if you got a Switch for Christmas and your buddy got a Switch for Christmas, and then you go spend the night over his house, you take your Switch with you, you're taking your console with you. And it's so easy to do. Like, that's why I love this thing, man.
It's awesome. The Switch is revolutionary, and we're so blessed to have it. And it's hard to believe that we still even have it for an entire year yet. Can you believe that?
Crazy.
It's even been a whole year.
I mean, when the Game Boy came out and you could take your games on the go, I mean, you had your Tiger Electronic games.
Yeah, I had
like
Street
little
Fighter.
handheld things. But like I had like Star Trek and things like that. But now then you had the Game Boy came along, you could exchange the games out and you could play different things. That was revolutionary. And then there's this new generation where you can take your console with you now and play it anywhere, in the car or wherever. And that's just another step, another thing where thank you Nintendo for advancing technology yet again to be portable and to be enjoyable and to be so accessible to everyone.
Yeah, totally. Well, let's actually dive into Mario World here a little bit and talk about this game and talk about why it is the king of 2D Mario platformers to many. So, Ryan, kick us off, man.
Say that again, Jacob. Sorry, didn't come through.
Oh, I said go ahead and let's get into why this game is. Let's start talking about the game and why it's so awesome and why it's really special to many out there.
I mean, okay. So I think that this game is defined by its dinosaur.
The green guy on the front?
Cover. He's on the cover. Mario has a cape, but he's sitting on top of a dinosaur. A green, cute dinosaur that eats everything. And, like, Yoshi was an evolution of Mario. And that's what really made this game shine and become something brand new. Yeah, you had your secret exits and your cliffs that you can dump Yoshi into, you know, but like having Yoshi, it was an extra shield against damage that you could get back if you could catch him. He runs away. But he wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't say like an easy mode, but he made you a new play style, a new way to game. And
funky mode.
It was interesting that they took him away when you tried to go into castles and things. Now, as far as gameplay goes, you get your Mario power-ups. I mean, you can use your fire. You can shoot your fire. They have a new cape they introduced. Like these things, these power-ups for Mario have been a staple since the very beginning with the mushroom. Like, and you get the mushroom, then you get the fire flower. Like that has been the evolution of this series to go, well, here's new power-ups for you. Here's new power-ups. Here's things that you can play as. Now it goes even further to give you that feeling of you can ride things now with Yoshi. You can ride the dolphins. Mm-hmm. You can ride these, what are they? The wooden platforms that run along on the tracks, and you had to dodge like saw blades and things like that. Like it was very much you ride along. There was one where the whole stage moves with you. You have to keep up with it. In the cave with the rising and lowering walls. Yep.
Yeah.
Like these things
Vanilla
that just
Dome.
advance the series. Yes, Vanilla Dome. Exactly. There's things that advance the series. And it did bring back your classic levels. You did have your water levels going on. You had your castles and things like that. But each thing, they didn't just give you the same old Mario that you used to. They added new things to it with these fish that would actually chase you down and these large, spiky, I guess, pufferfish things. And then you had to worry about all of those. And then they also gave you an element where fish out of water bounce around and flip around and stuff.
It's so sad.
There's so much stuff that they put in there.
Yeah. I want to recap real quick. Just you talked about the power-ups. Some unique things was obviously the cat feather. That was different. I had come from previously playing Mario 3, and you got the Tanuki suit. You got the raccoon tail, and that's what I knew. That's how Mario flies, and this was a lot different. And it allowed it so you could even kind of hover in the air. Whereas the raccoon, you would eventually just float back down. This one you could really, if you could handle the controls and figure it out, you could really stay in the air for a long time.
Kind of like Cappy.
Right, yeah, like Cappy. And then they introduced the power balloon, and they had Yoshi. That's one thing, too. Yoshi got power-ups. Yoshi got these wings that helped him fly, and you needed that in some crucial parts of the secrets of the game. You talked about Star World. There are some levels you can't even beat unless you have like different colored Yoshis, because it wasn't just the green Yoshi. They introduced the whole color family of Yoshis.
That blew my mind. What do you mean there's more than one Yoshi? And if you like the red one, if you hold the you can get the fire, or I guess not just the red one, but that one would do any shell, right?
Yeah.
You could do any shell, but you were green Yoshi. If you had the red shell, then you had the fireballs. Like, that was crazy. There is so much. This game is so deep, guys.
It was I would say it's ahead of its time, but maybe it's not ahead of its time. It really introduced.
Well,
it took
its time
the
was also
progression
Sonic,
it needed.
so it was ahead of that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How are we not comparing this game to Sonic? This game, you brought it up at the beginning, Jacob, where you're going back in a way and trying to go like, how was this game popular with the controls like this? This game does speed better than Sonic, and it does slow, obviously better than Sonic. But something that people overlook is how quickly you can play this game. If you know exactly which way to jump and when to jump, you can hold sprint forward and just tap B at the right time, and you're good to go. Like, this game does the speed run so great, and that's just another aspect of it, and all the different secret exits and different paths you can take through the world. Like, you could spend most of your time just in World 1.
I mean, it's
there's so much
to me,
discovery
it's just an example of when you go back and you compare games. No, it's weird how after 30 years, no company really truly gets jumping and platforming quite like Nintendo did with a Mario game. It's just the spot on controls is just massive in this game, and it like, this is the one game that you go back, the one Mario game that you go back and you go, that game looks gorgeous. Like, it really, the pixel art really gets defined as time moves on. But when you go back to this particular game, this Link to the Past, like, this game just looks amazing even today, and that's a one true testament of this game that I love.
It totally does, and it's a game that for a handheld as well. Can you imagine whenever the Virtual Console inevitably does come? Can you imagine playing this on your Switch? Like, how beautiful that's going to be on that screen to just take around with you. I think that's going to be awesome. Let's go ahead and I want to talk about some of the villains here. I mean, this game really took it up for the villains. I think maybe you have your mini castles, obviously, just like in Mario 3. And then in there you really kind of ran into like the Resnar. It was a little Triceratops guy, and really they were kind of easy unless you like freak yourself out, and they start shooting fireballs and the floor collapses underneath. But if you really just charge in there, you can really like take these guys out pretty quick. I remember personally, for me, my nostalgia, what always freaked Traven and I out was the Big Boo and the boss of the Donut Secret House. He moves around the room invisible, and then he suddenly reappears. Like, it freaked me out. Like, he scared me. I didn't know how to get him. He was massive, and we died a lot to that. And then, ironically, I think it was just last year, I saw somebody they showed, like, was just playing a playthrough, and there's a way you can kill him. Like, you just, like, I think you just slide down the stairs, and you'll, like, knock him out. I never knew that as a kid, and I thought, wow, what? It was that simple? Something I struggled with my entire childhood that terrified me. But then every castle, they introduced the Koopa Kids. They brought them back. So the first one was Iggy Koopa, and we had to you defeated him by putting him in a pool of lava. So you had to kind of get the timing down. But did you guys have any of the bosses that were like, I don't know, that you remember like you had the worst of time with? And Bobby, we'll start you there.
No. I mean, I didn't really struggle. The only things that made me struggle, the Koopa Kids were easy to me because I would try to go in there with fireballs and shoot them, and then it was done. The ones that were tough, like that threw me off originally, was the three Triceratops that kind of went around in a circle.
Yeah, man, I was going to say.
Because that was new.
Really?
in terms of like you couldn't jump on top of them.
That's true.
And you didn't know you had to jump.
You had to hit them from underneath, and you're so used to jumping on top of stuff in Mario games. That one always threw me off. And then as you got later and the floor did disappear, it was like, oh, I got to get one right away. And then I got to hope I don't get hit by fireballs as they start shooting fireballs at me as they're going around a circle. So that was probably the struggle. But the rest of them, like the Koopa Kids, were always never really truly bothered me going against them ultimately.
Actually, no, that's a great point. I mean, I talked about how today maybe the Resnar is pretty simple, but you're right. That's because we know how to do it now. But back then, you're right. This was brand new. You can't jump on these guys and you get hurt. Wow, that's a good point.
Sean, you know what? Sean made a point when we were doing the Splatfest. The sports things, like there's guy that kicks a football, and then there's like these football players running back and forth,
baseball.
and like that. I don't know what that really signifies.
What
I don't know what that
Like,
signifies.
yeah. I was gonna bring it up, but I thought we were on bosses. But yeah, well, that comes. I'm like, yeah, you got football guys, you got the baseball, and some things like Yoshi. This is where the Yoshi power up comes in as well, because you can just stomp on him really good, or you can have the cape and just take him out with like no problem. And like just so diverse, and even the way the guy kicks the football, it kind of bounces around like a football. Like if you've ever like threw a football on the ground trying to go pick it up, like you look like an idiot. It's really hard, and they managed to have this ball bounce around in a way that like is in a 2D space, but sort of reflects that footballs are unpredictable when they're rolling around. What a gorgeous but those guys never came back. Like now we're on villains. Like now you're talking about like the turtles, but then they don't have their shells anymore, and they're flying around. And the ones with like the glowing capes are how you get that power up. What in the and where are the Goombas?
Why can't you? Okay, I mean, you just said something that is very frustrating because you said why haven't they brought these guys back? But if Sean and Ryan would just learn how to play through their games a little quicker, I mean, you'd see something. I don't want to. I don't want to spoil nothing.
All right, thanks. Sorry for accidentally offending you, and now you just have to ruin a whole game.
I'm not offended. I just want to talk about it, but I'm like, well, I can't talk about it because you haven't played it yet. I'm going to spoil it. The football guy comes back in Odyssey, and you get to play as him. So that's a spoiler right there.
That's not real. I refuse to believe that.
I like the bonsai bill. Like you had the bullet bills, you always had to worry about those. But then like the giant one comes hurtling towards you. Like if you go backwards, in the first area even, and like you realize how huge this game is by how huge the enemies are that they send at you.
Ooch.
And like you said, the big boo, like the giant boo, like there was one where there's actually a boss fight where you take down a boo by launching blocks at him, which it took me a while to figure out that you could pick those blocks up and toss them upward. And I was like, how do you beat this thing? Like you had the little boost to manage plus the big one, like the giant aspect of this. And they had like these new kind of ghosts, I guess, or I don't know, the green like floating things
big
in
bubbles,
the ghost houses. Yeah, the big bubble things. Those things are like scary, terrifying. I think that was probably one of the more terrifying things because it wasn't something that I had really gotten timing down yet at the time, like to know how to dodge them. And like I kept trying to like run through it really fast, and you had to take your time with those things, otherwise they'll hit you and you're dead. And like they like kind of dissolve, almost look like they dissolve the platforms as they go through them. It's quite a challenge, and I like that they've made things bigger in this.
The sports guys were they were called Charge and Chuck. Charge and Chuck, that's what they were. And yeah, they did a variety of like throw baseballs at you. They dug into the ground. Great, good job bringing them up, Sean.
I feel like the 90s were very we were very obsessed with sports, especially in America. Like we had Wayne Gretzky, we had Bo Jackson, we had
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. You know, like we made celebrities out of athletes back then better than we ever have or probably ever will. And I think that's sort of how that bled over into Mario back in early, 90, 91 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Blargs always terrified me too. You remember the Blargs?
Blargs are my favorite enemy in the game.
Do you think this game has more enemies than any other Mario game? Like, is there more variety in this game than any other? It's just an endless list.
I've not really thought about that. It could
Somebody
be.
should check. Maybe I could check, but I don't want to be loud on my keyboard. Bobby will make fun of me.
You can look it up. I don't mind.
Like somebody a listener, I'm sure will maybe either know the different, offhand.
Yeah, let us know, listeners, if there is. I honestly don't know, but yeah, I mean, there is a ton they introduced here.
Yeah, man, totally.
They had the bony beetles.
There's a lot of diversity. There really is.
But I want to talk about the Boo castles, because a lot of my nostalgia with this game is I remember those Boo houses, and they were terrifying.
I hate you guys.
Them. Okay, Sean, how old were you in 1991?
91,
I guess when
I would have been
7.
7? Yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't play this game in 91. I would have been 1 when it. I was almost 1 when it came out. But by the time I played it, I was really like 4 or 5, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. But take the mindset of a child that's 4 or 5, and like something like Boo House is way more terrifying to a kid like that. I mean, even though we can look at it, it doesn't seem very scary. It was scary to me. And,
I was scared of the bad guy from Care Bears, if anybody remembers Care Bears. So I get what you're trying to say here.
That was terrifying.
He had like the cape
terrifying.
and the black head, or like the shadow face. I don't know. He had Captain No Heart or something. Anyway. It was not for me. It wasn't like I was playing this from 7 years old to about 13, 14 kind of thing by the time 64 came around. So it was pretty much this all the way through. And so for more so than the frightening part was it was hard. These were to me, these are the most challenging parts. Like, you think the castles are like the big milestones that you hit, but the ghost houses are like, they're big puzzles. They're like they're about as close to like a dungeon in Zelda as you're going to get in a Mario game, I think. You have to figure out, what's the trick here? What door do I have to go through? Do I have to bring this P through this door? Where's where are the coins drawing an arrow to? What's it trying to tell me? There's always a hint, and you know that even if you think you know what you're doing, it's probably wrong. You should probably be looking somewhere else.
That's fantastic, too, because I don't really think Mario had ever really introduced the concept of doing a trick to figure out a level quickly.
Yeah, well, you have multiple. Yeah, totally.
Probably the closest things are power switches, like in 3, I would say. Mm-hmm. But that's like your closest to puzzles you got. Like, you had to time and run to get through to a certain part.
Yeah, but I'd say they really like took it to another level with Mario World. I think that maybe they introduced it in 3, but the World was where they really started to do it, because I think it's like the first haunted level in the game, the first or second, where you hit a switch, but then you have to go back up, and you think, oh, I hit the switch and I went through the door, so I opened the path. Well, no, you hit the switch, and then you have to go back up, and you have to like hit the switch again in the same room, and then that opens up the path. Right. Like, you had to do multiple 2 little tricks to open up either the path to the regular way, or you can open up the secret path that gets you to the All-Star Road.
It felt like you were unlocking a secret, but that was just the way to solve it.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought that those are so hard, and they get tricky. Like, that one I just know, and I don't remember struggling with it. I feel like somebody just showed me before I really even knew, and then that was just locked in my brain. But there are still some, if I were to play it again, that I would really have trouble with, because I haven't locked the solution down.
Flying under the finish line on some of the goals that you have to hit.
Even the finish lines, like, you got rid of the flags were so like emblematic of the first one, and then you have this, like, you can get you're still getting a different score depending on when you land on, or you could get a coin, you get almost nothing. Like, the way that kind of lands, and yeah, you could dodge it, and maybe there's a secret past it. This game, like I said, is so deep. You could play this game. That's why it stood the test of time, is all of these things that we're talking about.
Correct. Bobby, kind of quiet.
I was looking up bosses and enemies and all that stuff, and just going through the.
Go for it. I want to hear some more of your nostalgia here with this.
The game's awesome. What do you want me to do?
Who gave Bobby a rough time for his money?
Who?
There had to have been a point in the game where you were just like,
I like I think they're called Rexes. They were kind of like dinosaurs that kind of went, and you hit them, and they kind of shrunk. It didn't kill them right away. So there was always those type of things. There was the ones like the Charging Chucks, but they were sumo guys who would kind of go back and forth, and they would stomp, and when they would hit, flames would come across and then shoot up. So stuff like that always, anything really new, always gave me a tough time, because you're going up against it for the first time. So as you're moving up, you're like, okay, how do I defeat these guys? You know, because you're always sitting in your mind, you're always going like, okay, I jump on their head, it kills them, but then like when you do stuff where you jump on a guy's head and it doesn't kill him right away. They also added this new mechanic where you could squat or sit and slide down hills, which would wipe out enemies right away. It didn't matter the size or what they were. That was always kind of interesting to me because it was like, okay, this reptile, I jump on his head, he just shrinks to a little thing, but I could slide and wipe him out right away. And it was like, this is different. This is totally a different animal. The dinosaur coins I thought were always interesting as well, just because of like you get 5 and then you get like a 1-up and just kind of I love the things that were new to this game. Just because I liked looking at the older stuff that was brought forward just to see the art style, but I always liked the fact when they brought new characters in that you hadn't faced before, because those were always the challenges. Like, Lakitu, okay, I just, he throws spiky things at me and it is what it is.
I hate spikies. Yeah. They're like, I don't know why I have so much trouble with them. What was the hammer? Was it a hammer brother who was like floating back and forth?
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Like, but like different than you've ever seen before?
So that's the thing. Like anything that was.
But you can hit him from underneath.
You had to hit him from underneath, yeah. And that's the thing. Like always trying to figure out. The one thing that I figured out that was kind of really cool that I never picked up on until a while later was when you went to whenever you went to castles and they always had the fences you had to climb on. Mm-hmm. If you hit the Koopas on the head, if you just, like if they're coming across and you drop down on their head, if you hit them in a row, you start to get 1-ups. And if you never touch the ground, you can keep going through that level and hitting them. And then even if they're on the other side of the fence, don't hit the fence, zip through the fence, and then drop on their heads as well. And you can get like a bunch of 1-ups on them stages. So it always made it where it wasn't that difficult. Like, not that it wasn't that difficult. They were always difficult. But I always felt like in the earlier games, you could run out of lives really quickly. And that's something else that you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the younger generation doesn't really necessarily grasp. Like, you play a game like Odyssey. There are no lives. You just can... Like, the game shut off on you. If you died, the game was done, and you went back a bunch of worlds and had to start all over. And it was
says you suck.
Yeah,
here you go.
And it's like today we don't get that. Like we do, but we don't, and it's not really necessarily the same. So like that's something that was always lingered. Like I need to get to a save point. If I don't get to that save point, I'm in trouble. And I'm in trouble means I go.
Then my mom's gonna show up. I'm not gonna have to shut it down.
And it's like. So it was always that you always had that sense of urgency, when you were playing these games, where I feel like a game like Odyssey, like there was never truly that sense of urgency. A game like World, like you always had that thing of like that looming thing in the back of your mind of like, I have to get to this point or I'm done, and it's, that's the thing that always gave me a hard time back then.
I'm glad you brought that up, too, because I literally was thinking about that while I was playing Odyssey just this past weekend, or this week, that, like, there are key moments in the game, and it might sound weird that I wish that it was kind of there, but there would be a point in the game where I'm trying to get this moon, and I collected these things along the way, and I died. And, because I died, it restarts me right there, and I don't have to recollect what I already collected. It's saved that I collected that. And I took being, I guess, an early game, growing up with games back then, like, I think that's just something that's instilled in me. I felt like, man, that's just kind of easy. Like, back in the day, if I would have died and I didn't get to the finish goal to save, it would have made me start everything over. And you don't get to keep it. But here you can keep that moon you found on your way to get to the other moon.
Can you imagine? Like running out of continues and having to start the game all over again in today's games.
I mean, back when Mario World, when Traven and I would play, Traven, I call him the gaming god. He's like the best gamer I know, and even back then when we would play together on Mario, I'd be Luigi, he'd be Mario, and I would start dying a lot.
You're taking all his lives for sure, man.
Well, I would just so we could keep moving forward. I would get you could. Had that thing in the game where you could pause it, or go to select, and you could give him your lives.
Yeah,
so I'd be like, here, Traven, take my lives so we can keep moving forward because you're the better at this than me, you know. That's how I originally beat Mario. I say I beat it, but I beat it with my buddy Traven. We did it together, and essentially it's probably more likely just him, but we were playing together, and I gave him extra lives for that way. So, but that's how we beat it. I remember playing through with him like that. So yeah, that was as fun you could do. Let's go ahead and real quick. I want to we'll speed it up. All the Koopas were kind of, I guess if only any Koopa for me personally I struggled with, that was I'd say Wendy. When I got to Wendy, I felt like she was more frustrating to me for some reason than the others. She was located in the Chocolate Island. It was number 6 castle, and she pops randomly out of 7 pipes. So you don't know where she's going to pop out of. But then there's 2 fake versions of herself, and I think that's what always would get me, because you're trying to dodge her, and wasn't it floaty hoop rings they're bouncing around? You had to dodge those. Yeah, dodge those, and you had to pick the right one. And for some reason, even today, I find that I don't know if there's something to see where you can tell which one's the real one. But I just kind of just pick and hope it's the right one. So that was something that I struggled with. Other than that, the other ones were pretty easy for me.
I agree.
But let's get into Bowser here. Okay, you get to Bowser, and the first time how we got to Bowser was we didn't play straight through the game. We found the path through Star Road, and if you know the tricks, you can get to Bowser in minutes of the game, and and you could beat it right then and there. And take us through the castle, Bobby. Was this castle difficult to you?
Oh yeah, because it was always pushing back, and it was tough. Like always in every Mario game except Odyssey, I felt like the Bowser battles were always tough. Like they were these big juggernaut battles. I love the fact that he was in that clown hovercraft thing. That was kind of cool, So it was a different aspect and stuff to it. Like it was cool, man. It was just a lot of fun, that level.
That always reminded me of Dr. Robotnik a little bit for some strange reason. But better. It's like the Joker and Dr. Robotnik in Mario World.
There you go. Yeah, I mean that's right. That was new and foreign to me as well. I'd never seen the clown car or chopper or whatever they call it. I remember they would always throw down he had like the wind up toys of the little Bowser.
Yeah,
Mecha Koopa.
And it took you a minute to figure out what do I do. Like it wasn't as straightforward as just jump up on Bowser's head like it had been in past games. You had to jump on those, and you had to grab them. Then you had to launch them up in the air and try to launch them on Bowser.
And they came back to life. That was the thing. Like, you jumped on those, and if you didn't use them within a certain amount of time, they would reactivate. So that was always kind of, tough. It was a battle, man. It was a battle.
Someone explain to me how Bowser is able to drop a giant ball from inside of his cart when he's already in there.
He's Bowser. He's a god.
Keep Peach in there.
That's what he's sitting on. It's not actually just a floor or anything. He's just got a whole bunch of them. He's like a ball pit. He just reaches out, and you can see him kind of sink in as the level goes on. He sinks down further because the balls are going away.
That's so funny.
It's like, whoa, where did he go? Why is this giant ball dropping out and rolling after me? Oh, crap, I'm
dead.
There's
something very special about how Nintendo and how Mario does the intimidation factor of Bowser and the levels. Yeah. Like, even from going back from the first Mario, where you're like, the first time you see Bowser and the flames are coming flying in. Like, what is at the end of this level, man? The build-up that they have, even though you've played this now in every game, you've seen Bowser 1,000 times before. Everybody knows what you're going to be at the end. But there's always that intimidation factor that Bowser is enormous. 64, you grab him by the tail and you fling him into a bomb and stuff. Like, there's always something weird, something different and unexpected, and that's what the magic of Nintendo is, which is why we have the nostalgia for it. And like that image that you described with the clown car or whatever, it's so vivid because it's so different. Like I think that's what's so special is if it was truly the same, then you wouldn't have like these moments and times that are like stamped into your memory so visually like that.
You know, Sean, you bring up an excellent point in what Nintendo does to make Bowser seem threatening. Before you even enter the castle, you can see like it's all dark above the castle. There's the lightning going off, and you see something flying around, very ominous like. And then if you go in like the side door or the Star Road exit, like you go in there and it's like pitch black in parts, and you have these enemies you can't really see, and they're in the shadows, and like it's just really just this. You're entering into this evil lair. It does feel very evil, and you have no idea what is circling around the castle, but you know it has something to do with Bowser. And so you go in there, and you finally get to him, and it's a bit more than you expected.
Even the way that the doors
like,
sound,
huge.
like when you hear a door open, it's just like it's like this dungeon is so huge and has been around forever. Like it's like a kingdom that you're kind of breaking into, and it just every little detail plays.
I love the
that.
animations too for when you beat the castle. Whether or not like Mario grabs a box and he, like a plunger, and he plunges and the thing takes off, and the cool thing too is like the first one where the castle takes off and hits the dirt mound in the head. Then you go by and it has a Band-Aid on top of its head and stuff. It's like just cool little stuff like that, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this game did a fantastic job with adding in all those little things like that. And I'm glad that, Ryan, you brought that up, a Bowser flying above the castle, and just a random lightning strike would show up. And because, again, I talk about things that kind of scared me as a kid, that was one of them. The music did a good job of capturing just what a castle should feel like. And I want to talk about the music really just briefly here, but the music is a fantastic game for sound. I think it's one of the best Mario soundtracks that exist.
I agree.
I have the full soundtrack on my iPhone and on my computer here. But the cool thing about it was Koji Kondo. He used the same melody line throughout the entire game. So like you have the regular sound that we know, the dun,
I love this part in the show.
That part. You take that same key line and you go underwater. It's the same thing, but he changes it to fit the flow of what it would be in water, and it's a lot slower. In the castles, it's the exact same thing, but I think he turned it to either he switched it to a minor or I know the notes are farther apart from each other, and so I think he added a minor effect to it, and they're farther apart, and it's a lot slower to make the castles feel a lot, the way they felt, darker and
to it.
Exactly. He definitely had to add a minor, change the notes to minor notes to give you that darker feel. Mm-hmm. That's what a minor does. But it was that way throughout the entire game. It wasn't just one level, and I thought that was really cool. But that song is just a song that, from when I first played it, that I mentioned it the first time we talked about this. One of the most things I was really excited for, and when I got Melee with my GameCube, was I knew that there was a Super Mario World level in the game that represented, and this first time they didn't do that in the first Smash Bros. And this was really, I think, like the first time they were kind of like throwing a throwback to Mario World people, fans of that game, and I knew it had that song in there, and for that level, and I wanted it so bad, and I'm pretty sure that was the very first level I went to and picked in Melee because of what it had there. It's just a memorable soundtrack, and it's fun and enjoyable. Super good.
It's one of the ones I love to serenade Bobby with, and he gets really annoyed with me. But I'll just go on, and man, like there's not a lot of soundtracks that I can really do that to, and it's one of it's just so. It's not even like really that. It's not even really Mario. It isn't like you kind of mentioned that the theme song that he had kind of going through, but like that's not what my mind picks up, and maybe it's because it's pretty layered. But like my mind doesn't pick that up necessarily as much. But it's just very airy, and I love Donut Plains, and there's a lot of different soundtracks in there that I'll just when Bobby's having a low day, I'll just kind of whistle it to him or I'll hum it to him. And just kind of go through the whole thing. I just kind of like, in my mind, it starts with the game firing up, and then you have the and everybody like
Oh, yeah.
as soon as they do it, you have your mind, your head just kind of like bops back and forth.
Yep.
And those notes that they hit so perfectly match with the visuals that match with the cadence and the pacing that Mario has in his jumps and the whimsy and the wonder that it is in the world.
Yeah.
Like what a perfect match. Everything about it is so great. That's to me the magic of the soundtrack is that I just can remember it, and I feel joy when I sing it to myself or even when I hear it. It's just if you're having a bad day, man, you put on this soundtrack and there's if you're still in a bad mood, and God help you.
It'll make you smile for sure. It'll make you smile. Yeah, even just the map screen. It's just like
I gotta tell you, like when you play, I don't know if either of you guys have played Minecraft or any of you guys played Minecraft on the Switch and on the Wii U. The Mario level that they have, the Mario World. When you go up, you fly, if you play in creator mode, and you can fly up over everything, and you look down, it's the map of, I believe it looks like the outlay of Super Mario Bros. 3, but then when you look at it from a different angle, it's the world of, like, Mario World. Like, there's the Bowser out in the water, and the airships are up in the air, and all that stuff. Like, it is so amazing, man, how in-depth they've built this world. But, like, it's just cool to see the maps, like, when you look down and when you look out over the world and you see, like, you look into the water and there's that gigantic Bowser. You can go in. And you go into it, and it's like really cool, man. So it's that pulls definitely some nostalgia out of you.
So I remember playing, you're starting up the game. You know, Sean, you mentioned the music at the beginning when you first started the game, and it shows like Mario running along. And I always wanted to play that level. And then as I got better at the game, I actually stumbled upon that level. I think it's one of the areas that you can go to. I want to say after Star Road. Like in the special levels, but you can actually run through the intro area that they show Mario running through. Man. You can actually go through that level and experience that. I thought that was pretty cool, and that really brings up something that I want to touch on, and I want to see what your guys' favorite level was. Now, it may be hard to single out which one. For me, it was Totally Tubular because of the challenge that one offered. I know that's probably everyone's most hated one, but I actually love that one. What level really just stood out to you the most, and you just would play over and over and over again, like just because you loved maybe certain enemies or anything like that? Is there anything that you could narrow that down to?
The one that I played over and over and over again was what in my mind was the first one we went to get the cape, where I don't even know what it's called, but they all run at you, and the first one has the flashing cape, and you're like, I gotta get that because what is this cape? I gotta try this thing out again. I want to fly it. I'd play that over and over.
Yeah,
and over
I'm the same exact one. I don't know what number it is, but I remember taking off and then like 4 of them jump and then come flying, and you always saw the one with the flashing cape, and you get it. And the reason why I love that one was it's the first level I flew on. And like just learn to fly and like learn if you like push forward, push back, like he would do a swoop and it was just a swooping motion and you just fly right to the end. It was just so cool, man. I love that whole flying part of it.
For me, well, like I said, since I didn't own it back in the day, I always vividly remember basically with Trey when we'd like start it over every time we'd play it. So I really enjoyed the first level where you get Yoshi. I thought it was so cool to just hatch open that egg and then you get to run. You get to ride on this dinosaur and like you can just eat your enemies. It wasn't just jump on them.
You can eat them as they're coming out of the ground too. Like
right, absolutely. I thought that was. I think to me that's really the most special moment. It was like, wow, this is something different and something really, really cool and special that they're doing here. Because they wanted to put Yoshi in Mario Bros. 3, but the technology wasn't there.
How cool was it though to have like the baby Yoshi and feed him, and then he turns into a full size Yoshi? It was so cool.
You feed him is it a star that you feed him and he gets fully
baked? Well, you would just feed him like
if you get one,
yeah. But if you fed him enemies, you could feed like I think it was 5 enemies, and he turned into a full size.
You could feed him glowing blocks, man.
Yeah. There's
one where you're fighting. I can't remember who the heck it is. You're fighting a bunch of spinies being thrown down at you. So I guess Lakitu. I always mess that up. So you can have him just like sit, like have the little spikies run into him and he'll eat them, or you can go and bring little blocks over to him. Like just that's kind of like a Breath of the Wild kind of thing where like if it makes sense, it just works. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't have to be done in a particular game way. There doesn't have you have to game it to have that work. It's just he eats things that are in front of his face. And that Nintendo kind of just does that a little bit more naturally than anybody else. Just allow things to they build the world and the physics within it, and everything just plays out as you think it should.
Agree.
Well, I guess I think we should probably start to simmer this episode down. We're almost an hour and a half in, man. And, I mean, I don't want to stop talking. I love just talking about it, and I love just taking us back. That's my favorite thing that we do here. But so Bobby and Sean, you guys, why don't you take the time out here and to just tell people where they can find you individually and what you do and. Yeah, so we'll go ahead, and Bobby, will start with you this time. We're going to find you.
Sean, you go first. You're...
Oh,
it's very rude of you because Jacob asked you, and now
I'm just trying to let you give you the honor, the glory. That's all.
I see right through it. I see right through it. You can find me in Canada, but also on the internet. You can find me on Twitter at Sean Capri. Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. I co-host with Bobby on the Gaming Gurus, and I do We the Gamercast, where I've had you guys on. So if people haven't checked it out, like if you want an on-ramp for We the Gamercast, it's a couple with Jacob, there's one with Ryan, there's a couple with Bobby. Bobby's episode, what are you, episode 16 or something 16. Like that, Bobby? Yeah,
the Geek
I knew
Guru.
That. Yeah, Bobby came on as the Geek Guru. If you guys need an on-ramp to We the Gamercast, those are amazing episodes, some of my all-time favorites. So thank you.
Too.
Yep, that's me.
For me, I do a bunch of different things, but I have the Gaming Gurus with Sean, as you mentioned. I have the Planet Nintendo podcast that I do with Joe and Nintendo Talk, Patrick. I have the new show that I do with Jules Watcham, behind the scenes with Jules Watcham, and then my YouTube channel, which just go to YouTube, search Nintendo Guru. I have all kinds of stuff I'm doing over there, different video series that I have going on. Nintendo Talk Live, which I got to get you guys on that when you get a chance. I definitely got to bring you guys on that show. Twitter, at Nintendo Gurus. That's the easiest way to get hold of me.
Awesome. Well, and Ryan, I think I speak for Ryan and I both. And guys, if you are newer to the show and you don't know, but Bobby and Sean are really the biggest reason that got this train going for Nintendo nostalgia here. We reached out to them back.
You did it yourself, man. You got to stop that. You did it. You came up with a great name and
Would
a great
you stop?
idea.
He's praising me. Stop it. Go ahead, Jacob. I like this part.
Well, that's the difference between you and I.
You're like the old man. You guys were like the old man in the cave, and I was out in the wild, wandering around, and walked in, and there you were, and you said, "It's dangerous to podcast alone. Take this,"
Yeah.
And you got to start
more like the
it.
old man in the minivan, with the painted windows. Not the old man in the cave.
Oh gosh.
Did you ever tell anybody, like? So I don't know if we've ever talked about this. So behind the scenes thing, right? Jacob reaches out to me and is like, "Hey man, I really like what you do, and I really want to get into podcasting, and I don't know if you could make any time for me." And I'm like, "Dude, anytime you want. You set it up." So we're going back and forth with dates and times. I was like, "Well, look, I record If We Ran Nintendo. It's a podcast Sean and I used to do together. I'm like, I recorded at this time. I get done about this time. And then if you want, we can do a Skype call or something to kind of go through the steps." So they're like, "Yeah, that'd be great, man. That'd be awesome." And you didn't know that Sean was going to be there because I go to Sean and I'm like, "Sean, I got this guy. I don't know who he is. He reached out to me. He wants to do podcasting. Would you mind sitting in on this?" And maybe, and he's like, Sean's like, "Absolutely. Yeah. And then like you come in and you're like, kind of like thrown aback that you're meeting Sean and I, like you just thought it was going to be me and you, and then like Sean said, man, we told you some things that we felt you should do, like in terms of like don't follow the mold, make your own show, and you totally took all the knowledge that we were throwing at you and ran with it, man, and really knocked it out the park.
Well, we appreciate that. And, we're always growing as a show. We're always doing things, adding new things, changing things up. But definitely the foundation was started with you guys. And we're really blessed to be able to have you both on as a show on our show. And I just think how timely it is that right when your show ended, the one that I found you guys, really. I found you guys through the Nintendo Dads with you being a guest on there, but as soon as you announced that, I followed it right away and started listening, and I loved it, and I'm really sad that it's gone. I mean, the only positive is it helps clean up my podcast list of one less show I have to listen to now.
Who would think that me not playing UN Squadron would mean that Sean would walk away from the show? It's a sad day. I didn't want it to end, but
it was unforgivable. We had irreconcilable differences.
He just said,
"It wasn't
If you refuse to play this game, I can no longer be on the show." And I couldn't bring myself to play trash. So, it ended.
It wasn't your fight after the Switch reveal last year.
We made it through that.
We survived that.
We survived the Switch reveal. We just, couldn't survive UN Squadron.
It's funny how I'm never the one to bring that up. I just want to move on. People just keep talking about it. It's so awesome.
Well, that's great. Ryan wants to do our due diligence and help close us out here as well.
Sure thing, man. You can find us at dayspace.com, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Facebook.com/NintendoNOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. If you want to shoot us an email, NintendoNostalgiaIN@gmail.com. Find us on our Instagram at NintendoNOSIN. And you can find us on YouTube. We're doing streaming. Check us out, especially when we're doing regular episodes. We'll do a Let's Play basically just before it, so you can experience what it's like. If you maybe not played the game before that we're going to be covering for the next week, just check us out. You can give us a call on our hotline at 317-969-5690. And that closes us out.
Awesome. Yeah, and you can find me at NosJacob73 on Twitter and Instagram as well, and I'll even add you on Facebook. Accept your friend request. Just promise not to be some weirdo or something.
Be careful. Be careful. Trust me. We can talk about this off the air, but be careful.
Yeah, if you're weird, no warning. I'll block you. But obviously you can find Super Mario World on, if you have any Wii U, 3DS, you can download them there. The old original cartridge. You can find it at your local store. The SNES Classic, of course, and I'm sure inevitably it'll come to the Switch as well one day. And so there you go. Well, everyone, thank you so much. We will see you again next week for more Nintendo nostalgia. Have a good one.
Later.
That is all.